Joining us on the show right now is Canadian multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, and producer Patrick Lehman. He's going to talk to us about his brand new CD, Electric Soul Kitchen Volume 2, as well as his love of music and what's going on with his upcoming tour. Patrick, welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to ask you, you started writing your own songs as a teenager. Did you always know that you were going to have a career in music? Was that the plan?
I grew up listening to a lot of different kinds of music in the house. My parents always had stuff playing around the house. I picked up the guitar when I was quite young. I don't know if I knew that I was going to have a career in music, but I think as I became a teenager, I definitely realized it's something I love to do, and I'd probably have to work very hard to make it be a career. And so far, it's been going well. It's definitely a lot of hard work, but it's always been a dream of mine to make it happen, but I guess I never knew if it would or not. Let's put it that way.
And when it comes to your career, because, I've spoken to so many artists, over the last couple of years, and it, like you said, it is so much hard work. I think some people don't realize how much work actually goes into it. Do you have, for quote unquote, like a backup plan, or are you going full tilt, you're going to make this your life's work?
Yeah, well, for a long time, even up until, I'd say, a year or two ago, I was thinking, okay, well, if this doesn't work out, or, sometimes you work hard at something and it just doesn't pan out, But in the last couple of years, I've definitely decided that this is it for me. This is what I'm doing. Whether I become huge or not huge, whatever, sell a million records or don't sell a million records, the more shows that I do and the more albums that I make, I'm garnering new fans all the time. And I'm sticking with it. This is, whether I like it or not, I tell my friends all the time, this is what I'm meant to do with my life. So hopefully success. But, you continue every day and you work hard and you hope for the best, basically.
How has your family support been? Because I'm assuming that's very important to give you a boost when things maybe aren't going well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I'm extremely close with my family. And that's a big reason why I'm still in Montreal doing music here. They're amazing. They support me constantly. What's good too is that they're very realistic with me too. I don't think they don't pump, these big dreams into my head. They've always told me that if this is what you want, go for it, but realize it's going to be a lot of hard work and it's going to take a long time. When you don't have an uncle who's in the music business or, a huge connection or something, you're going to have to work really hard. And they've made that clear to me from the beginning. But I think that's the best thing they could have done, is because they took that element of the dream out of it, and then realized that if you want to make it a reality, you have to work hard at anything you do, really. So they're definitely a huge support for me. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to your music, when and where do you sit down to write music? Do you write when you're on tour? Do you write when you're at home? How does that all sort of pan out?
Well, right now we're actually we're sort of on a quasi tour. We're back in Montreal every week, but every weekend and every Thursday to Sunday we're basically out. And last weekend we were in New York City doing a couple dates, and so we're back and forth. So I don't have tons of time to be writing right now. I used to do a lot of writing just at my house, in my bedroom, just sit down with a guitar or a keyboard. Now it's kind of whenever something pops in my head, I'll grab a napkin or I'll grab my cell phone, or I'll write it down wherever I can, basically, and then hopefully continue it later on. But anywhere we can, really. Inspiration comes from anything I find for myself. So, whether it's on my laptop or, like I said, a napkin from a diner somewhere, wherever we are at that time, and just write it down and keep it and hold it for later. But right now, basically, we're just focusing on performing live. So writing is kind of taken a little bit of a backseat for a little while. But hopefully I'll be doing some writing in the future soon.
Can you talk to us about your love of hip hop, jazz, and soul, and how you've managed to, fuse those sounds together to create your own unique sound?
Yeah, I definitely will. I grew up listening to hip hop and probably the more poppier side of hip hop. And then as I got a little bit older, I discovered groups like The Roots and Common and Kanye West. Obviously, he's probably the most popular one out of the bunch. But I always grew up listening to rock and roll in the house, and I studied jazz in university. So I don't know if it was such a conscious effort to mix all of them together. I've always wanted to kind of, just to put it simply, I just kind of want to play the music that I like, and I want to make music that I would want to listen to. And whether that becomes more jazzier or more urban or more of a rock sound. On the new album that I just finished a few months ago, there's a little mix of everything on the album, and that was kind of my goal from the beginning. So I guess it is sort of a conscious effort to put it in there. But I think basically what it is whatever you listen to and you're influenced by, it's going to come out whether you like it or not, So I'm happy with the way the album turned out, because there is a little bit of all of those influences in every song. And so far, the reception for the album has been great. So, I mean, I couldn't ask for more.
You've had the opportunity to share the stage with some pretty notable singers like Elvis Costello and Daniel Lanois, Sam Roberts, Bedouin Soundclash, Holly Cole. Can you tell us what those experiences were like for you?
Yeah, well, that was actually a couple years ago in the Montreal Jazz Fest. I was a part of the big event that year, which was a tribute to Paul Simon. And so those other artists were on stage. I mean, I should say I was on stage with those other artists, obviously. And it was an amazing experience. At that point, I was a little bit younger, and I was still pretty fresh into the industry. And to be rubbing shoulders with those people, and most of them were amazing. They were very friendly and very welcoming to conversation. And it was just amazing to watch them perform and see how they carried themselves also around the production and the days leading up to the production. So, I mean, for me, that was an amazing learning experience, an amazing performing experience. I couldn't have asked for more, and it went great. I think it was actually still to date the most popular and successful outdoor free show that the festival has ever done. So, I mean, to be part of that is amazing.
Joining us on the Kelly Alexander Show is singer, songwriter, and producer Patrick Lehman. Make sure to check out his website, patricklehmanmusic.com. What was the best advice that you've been given so far in your career, and who gave it to you?
I think the best advice, that's a good question. I don't know if I can think of the best line right now on the spot, but I had a professor in university who made it very clear that to be in the music business, it's, especially as a songwriter, and if you want to be an artist, it's very personal, and it's very, you're very in touch with your emotions, with your lyrics, and you're performing and being on stage. But it is a business also, and there's a whole side of it that needs to be run like a business, you know, putting your programming, your touring together, your image, doing photos, just even developing artwork for your album when you put something out like that, arranging music. There's a whole side of it that is very much a business, and I think to be successful, you have to understand both sides of it. And I think in the last couple of years, that's really what I've been trying to do, is just learning a little bit of every part of the industry, as well as getting out there and performing and, honing that side of the craft as well. So I think the best advice I would say is probably just get to know the business that you want to be in, get to know every single side of it. And that way, if you have a little bit of knowledge of every part of the industry, then, I mean, you'll be better for it. So.
Is it hard for you to embrace the business aspect of things? Because I know for myself, I'm sort of in the same boat as you. Like, I would rather, a huge part of me wants to just focus on, finding my guests and doing my interviews and crafting all that sort of stuff and putting my show together. But just like you, like, I have a business side of it where I have to promote the show and all that sort of stuff. And I know there's days where I don't feel like doing that part. Do you have those days?
I have those days. Yes, almost every day I have that day. But, I think because what I'm doing right now too, like you're like yourself, you're doing a lot of the work yourself, so, I mean, it's really, when you wake up in the morning, if you're tired or you had a hard day or a big day, or like we came back from New York, and then on Monday I was right back to work doing bookings and working on promotional stuff for the future. I mean, it's fine if you don't want to do it, but if you don't do it, it doesn't get done, So, I mean, obviously there's days where there's piles of work to do, but I think you realize as time goes on that if you don't do that work, then nothing will be coming in the future, So, I mean, you have to kind of just buckle down. And a good idea, too, is just getting a good team around you of people who will support you and work with you, and you all have the same goal, basically, working towards the same goal. So, I mean, yeah, it gets tough. It's a lot of work. A lot of people don't really, like a lot of my friends don't realize, how much time goes into just planning a tour or planning an album. When we recorded the album last year, me and my musicians, I think it's the biggest creative project I've ever done to date. And I mean, I definitely am proud of it, but I needed to maybe step away from the studio for a few months and take a little break and kind of charge my batteries and refresh for the next time I go. I mean, it takes a huge part out of you when you do work on a project that big. But, I mean, the goal is to be proud of it in the end. So you push as hard as you can, and then when it's finished, it's finished. So. Speaking
of your album, the latest one that came out, Electric Soul Kitchen Volume 2, do you have a song on there that is your baby, or are they all your babies? Because I know it's hard to choose, but is there one that really speaks to you most of the time?
Well, yeah, I mean, people ask me that sometimes. I think if I had to give an answer, I'd probably say the fourth track, OI. For me, that was speaking of different styles on the album, that one really does stand out of the other ones because it's more of like a R&B doo-wop type of song, or that was the influence for the song. That one, there's a lot that went into it, a lot of the arrangements, and there's violin and just 3 backup singers and guitar and then all of my vocals. So that one kind of, I mean, just as far as working on the tunes, that one was really special to me. But all the songs, I mean, I wrote all of them and I produced all of them, so they're really all like my babies, I guess you would say. But I guess that one, if I had to pick, that one probably stand out for me.
Do you have an artist or a group out in the world right now that you would just, be so excited to have the chance to collaborate with?
You know who I really like? I really like Grace Potter. Grace Potter and the Nocturnals. They're actually from Vermont, and they've been on the up and up for the last couple of years, touring, doing tons of touring, and they actually do a little festival down in Vermont. Well, I shouldn't say a little festival. They do their own festival in Vermont every August or September, and I'm trying really hard to get into that this year, actually, because Sam Roberts was in it last year, and they give support to a lot of Montreal acts as well. So, and they're going to be in Montreal, I think in February, early February, we're going to go see them. So I think that's an excellent act. And that's a perfect example for me of someone who's worked really hard at it and succeeded and now is touring like crazy and has all this support from bigger artists. And so, yeah, that's someone I'm the last couple albums of Grace Potter and the Nocturnals I've been crazy about.
Speaking of, these tour dates and stuff and seeing people and wanting to get involved in this type of festival and everything, what can people expect when they go see you live? What's your stage show like?
You know what, stage show, as far as I'm concerned, I think we're still building it as well, too. I mean, I know for myself, when I first started singing, I was terrified of the stage, and I think there's a big part of me that's still trying to get over that. But right now, we're amped up. I mean, we're performing so much in different cities as well. We just did a big show in Montreal in mid-December, and we filmed it for a DVD, so that'll be out, I think, in the spring sometime. We're trying to do that for, like, April. And there you can see, like, our stage presence right there. We worked really hard on that show. I think we try to, similar to the names of the albums, we're trying to make it very electric. Well, I'm calling my sound Electric Soul because it's soulful, but it is amped up and there's a lot of energy in our show. That being said, there's always a couple ballads that we do and we try to tone it down a little bit too. So I guess we're trying to put a little bit for everybody in the show, but definitely high energy.
How important is social media to you?
Oh, it's everything. I mean, at this point, that's the best way to promote yourself when you're an independent artist. It's the best way to connect with your fans. I've had so many fans reach out and people reach out just sending us messages of, please come play here, or we loved this when you did that song at the show. And I mean, it's the best way to connect with the people directly. I mean, there's no middleman. They can send you a message right away. They can find you on Twitter and Facebook, and we're on all of those social media sites, and it's the best way for them to connect. And for me, it's a good idea to see what people are liking, what they're not liking, and if there's areas that we haven't played yet. And I mean, so it's very important right now. Yeah.
Now, what's in store for you this coming year? And well, I used to be able to say, what's coming up in the next 2 years, but now everything is so quick and fast paced that it seems like we got to focus on the next 6 months or the next year. So what's up for Patrick Lehman and the band coming up this year?
Well, right now, me and my musicians, we're on the road back and forth. We're doing our winter tour, and that'll wrap up in April in Toronto. And then we'll probably do a couple dates in Montreal in May. I think we're going to take a little bit of time off and put together our summer tour, and that will be pretty similar to the dates of the winter tour. We'll be going down to New York and New Brunswick and Toronto and Montreal. This Thursday, we're actually going to Quebec City, so that'll be fun. And I'm actually working currently on trying to do at the same time like a remix album. So I'm going to be taking about 6 or 7 of the songs from the Electric Soul Kitchen Volume 2 and doing remixes. So you like electro sounding stuff, hip hop stuff, and putting that out in the summertime. And then we have the DVD coming out in the spring as well. And that was of a show we did at El Patrovis in our hometown of Montreal. So all those things put together. I also have the album coming out in the Netherlands in the spring. We just signed a deal last year with a company in the Netherlands. So possibly going out there to do some tour, but that's not totally confirmed yet. So there's a lot of things, kind of 4 or 5 different things always going on at once. But I mean, that's what's great about putting out an album. You put it out and then here we go, so.
Do you have any goals or plans to expand like further overseas? Like, because for example, we're on radio stations right now in Australia and Malaysia and Japan and Singapore. Do you have any plans to, hopefully pick up new fans maybe in that part of the world at some point?
Definitely. I mean, my idea is to just go as far away and come back as much as I can. So, we want to play anywhere we can, and I'd like the album to be out as many places as I can. I know right now it is out in the UK and some China and Brazil and a whole bunch of different countries online on iTunes and all those sites. I think right now, especially as an independent artist, it's very important to do everything step by step. So I think maybe for my next album or maybe for the remixes album, I will sort of expand a little bit more overseas. I mean, it's definitely a goal of ours, but it's, bit by bit, we're going to get there, I think.
Fantastic. And before I let you go, you're so talented and you are, able to play different instruments, and you've got, like you said, your musicians going on. Do you ever have plans in the long term to maybe help bring other artists along and help them launch their own career?
Yeah, I've actually been toying the idea of maybe putting together like a little festival in the future. I don't know if that'll be next year or what, but I would love to do something like that. Even just start really small at first, do it in Montreal 1 or 2 nights, and then hopefully just every year expand it and sort of be like a hometown show at the end of the year at the same time, and every year have more and more artists be a part of it. But that's definitely something that I'm kind of just keeping in the back of my mind, and when I do have some time to develop it, I'm going to do that. But I would love to do that. I mean, but I think Montreal, as far as my hometown, Montreal, we've got a ton of festivals already. I don't think there's any room for another festival right now, but that's definitely something I'd like to do. Or maybe a tour, maybe a tour and bring out a couple artists with us and hit up a bunch of different cities all together. That might be a lot of fun too. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas there. I think it's just a matter of developing them and putting it out at the right time.
Patrick, that's awesome. And thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
That was Patrick Lehman. Again, for more information about Patrick and his band, check out patricklehmanmusic.com.